Hello and welcome to the Process Lab, the University of Wisconsin-Stout School of Art and Design. We're down in 132 in the Applied Arts Building. My name is Dino and I'm the Process Lab Coordinator. I work down here along with an assistant and we've got a number of student employees. We're open 7 days a week, totaling about 78 hours a week. If you're an art and design student, you'll spend a fair amount of time in this lab working on projects. This video is intended to kind of run over some of the lab rules and show you how the lab operates. Pay attention, it's for your benefit, and not to mention you can't be in here without this training, so it's important. And after you're done, you'll receive a badge. Think of it like your driver's license. That allows you to work on the equipment. It's only for art and design students. We don't allow anyone else in here but art and design students. So pay attention. Got about 20 minutes here, your time, and it's good, valuable information. During your training, we're going to run through some real life issues, if you will, about things that we've seen or near misses in the shop. They're not intended to scare you as much as they are to punch home the reality of the situation. We see some potentially dangerous things that could possibly happen in here. We do get busy. We deal with various levels of experience when it comes to our students. The main thing is that when you leave here, you leave with the same amount of digits in your eyesight that you came here with. That's our goal. We will uphold all of the shop safety rules. Think of it like we're the shop police. You're all art and design students. You need your eyes and your fingers to make your projects. Okay, first of all, I don't even want to see you in the shop without a pair of these on. Mine are prescription, they've got the side shields. These are designed to fit over your glasses for people that normally wear glasses. These are the other type if you don't usually wear glasses. You can tell that they're safety glasses because in the lens somewhere they'll have printed like Z87. There's a number of different codes. If you're not sure, bring them in, I'll take a look at them. But you know, in the shop, we've got people using nail guns. There's all kinds of spraying going on. There's things that are flying through the air just because someone messed up or something like that. I mean, it's crucial that you wear these. And from the moment you get in, I don't care if you're just spraying your drawings, you need to have safety glasses on. And they need to be your own safety glasses. Thank you, COVID-19. We do not provide safety glasses. It's your responsibility to purchase them. You can get them at the bookstore. Any hardware stores got them. They're pretty cheap. They don't have to be real fancy, but they at least have to be safety glasses. No glasses, no entry, no exceptions, like the sign says. We do have 2 eye wash stations. One's located here by the sinks, and then the other one is located over in the art metals room. We have 2 fire extinguishers, one over on the west side of the room. It's located by the spray booth and the exit entrance. And then the other one is on the opposite or east end of the room by the other exit. We have hearing protection for you over here along with some dust masks and some more Band-Aids. I don't know if you realize this or not, but once you lose your hearing, it doesn't repair itself. When all the equipment is running in here, it's loud. Protect yourself, it's important. We have a first aid kit. It's got a red cross on it. It's located right by the sink. But the only thing we can give you is Band-Aids. We're not doctors. We can't give you any medical advice, but we can give you Band-Aids. If you get hurt bad, we're going to ask you if we should call 911. Upon completion of the safety training and after you've demoed the equipment, you're going to receive a badge, and they're color-coded with the equipment like this belt and disc sander. As you can see, yellow training will get you on this. Now, unless you've had this training and you've got the sticker, you can't use this. I don't care if you were the star tech ed student, teacher's assistant at your high school. It doesn't matter. If you haven't been trained by us in here, you can't use it. Now, after you've used it, maybe you don't quite remember everything that we talked about. You can get a quick recap by using your smartphone, click on the QR code on there, and it'll give you a quick 45-second recap of what we talked about. How to hold your hand, how not to hold your hand, what to do, what not to do, how to turn it on, how to turn it off. Man, if you love tools, you will love our tool crib. We've got a wide variety of corded and cordless power tools, hand tools. If you like walking around the hardware store, the big box store in the tool section, we probably have it. We have got a lot of tools in here. The thing about it is, though, unless you work here, I don't want you back here because of all the valuable things that we have back here. It should really just be for employees only, okay? Not to mention that when you check tools out from us, the only thing that works to check tools out from us is your ID card. We keep your IDs back here. So I don't want people just mulling around back there helping themselves. They might help themselves to your ID. Now, along that lines, if you borrow something from us, kind of like a library book, you keep it for as long as you need it, but then bring it back. We only have a limited amount of things like sanders and power drills and things like that. And if everyone hoards them, people are screaming for them. So use it and then return it in a timely manner. Now, they get used and abused a lot. So if you're using the tool and something goes wrong with it, let us know. Don't just hand us back a broken tool and don't tell anyone because you think we're going to take away your birthday or something like that. I mean, it's important for us to know that it's broken so that we can fix it. Imagine your frustration. You take a sander home with you over the weekend. You get home, you wait a little while. Maybe it's Sunday night. Now you're ready to use it. And you go to sand something and zzz, it doesn't work. You can't even go out and buy one right now because the stores are closed. You're basically out of luck because someone that used it before you never told anyone that it was broken. So be considerate to the rest of us. Borrow the tools if you need them. We need your ID, but bring them back in a timely manner, and if they're broken, let us know. Please don't borrow our tools for wax or plaster. We take the time to have really nice, sharp tools in here, and plaster has a tendency to dull. It leaves plaster dust all over everything. The other thing about plaster is it has a tendency to rust. Every tool that comes in contact with it. And so please don't borrow our nice, clean, sharp tools for plaster. Now, or wax. There are rooms set up specifically for plaster. And when you have those classes that you're using plaster or wax, they should have the tools that you need. And if they don't, the instructor can get with me and I'll get them some more. But for right now, don't use our tools in the process lab for wax or plaster. You'll find within these cabinets underneath this desk a plethora. We got literally a hardware store of fasteners, hinges, knobs, screws, bolts. You name it, we got it. Along with that, a lot of times people leave behind material that they didn't use for their project, or at the end of the semester we upcycle things. Up in the mezzanine we've got storage of just literally you name it. Before you go to the hardware store and spend your money, come check with us. Chances are we have it. We have a number of different zones for our ventilation. One of them being right here for the wood ventilation on this part of the room. The on-off switch is right here. It's the green button is on, the red button is off. When you turn on the ventilation, you'll hear it. It's loud. And if you go to use the piece of equipment, there's a slide right on the vent. You pull the slide open and then use the piece of equipment, and then when you're done, you just push the slide back. Pretty easy. It's set up like that for all of them. And when you're all done, if you just sweep off the dust off the equipment, hit the floor, you can use a broom, and then this is a floor sweep. You open up the slide, you sweep it up into there, and when you're done, you shut the slide off, and it's nice and clean. These buttons control the other ventilation zones. This first one that says Wood 1 is this half of the room. And again, you can look at the vent tube and see how it goes and what it's connected to. This one here would be hooked up to the metal room, like the belt and disc sander for the metal. And then this one would be for the welding ventilation in the metal room. Over here we have our metals lab. The thing about sparks and dust is you could cause a fire. Do your metal work in the metal lab and do your wood work out in the wood shop. Dust and sparks could cause an explosion. Don't use the metal sanders and grinder for wood or plaster, and don't use the wood sanders for metal. These are scrap bins. You have access to all this. It's left over from someone else's project. It is full all the time. We empty it out all the time. We also have scrap sheet stock. Along those lines, anything you see in here is basically up for grabs. So if you bring something in here and leave it lying around, go to lunch, guess what? The next person's going to come in and go, oh, perfect, that's exactly what I needed, and they're going to take it. Don't leave your things unattended. People may confuse what's available with what you left in the corner sometimes. Now, don't confuse the scrap bin with the secured material storage. If it's got a lock on it, you can't just go in there and help yourself. You need to check with one of us. A lot of times those materials are set aside because an instructor has got a project coming up and that material was purchased for that project. So if it's locked up, or basically if you're not sure, come and ask. We have a couple of downdraft tables. They work pretty good for pulling in the dust and getting it away from your lungs. To turn this one on, you just turn those on. Don't forget your dust mask, it's important. And do your sanding over the vent, okay? Now, if you're working next to someone who's sanding or using a downdraft table, you should probably have a dust mask on too, because the vent works well, but you're still going to get some dust all over. Now, when you're completely done, you've made a mess. Vacuum it up, please. Here we have another one of our downdraft tables. If you're going to be doing a lot of sanding, make sure that you've got a dust mask on. Some particulates are really horrible for you to breathe. Things like Bondo, even MDF. It's got formaldehyde in it and all kinds of other chemicals. Be sure you're wearing a dust mask. It's super important. Now, this one is set up pneumatic. So you can use these air power tools. They're called pneumatic tools. And they will literally run all day. They're not like the electric ones. So if you're going to do a lot of sanding, grab a pneumatic. They work great. You can plug them into the air hose here. And the thing about this downdraft table is that's not the on-off switch. What happened when I did that? You flinched. This is the on-off switch. Now, you'll notice when I used the toggle switch, there was a really loud noise. And if you're standing next to it and you weren't expecting it, chances are you're going to flinch because it startles you. You know, you flinch because it's a natural reaction and it's an involuntary reaction to something that startles you. When that happens and you flinch and you're in a piece of equipment, that could change the way you spend the rest of your day. This is our spray booth. And if you come down here and spray your drawings, they need time to off-gas, usually about 10 to 15 minutes. After you've used the spray booth, just leave it on. Someone else will be using it right after you probably. And it needs time to off-gas. If you don't and you just spray your drawings and you just run right out into the hall or back into the classroom, you're basically off-gassing into the hallway or the classroom. And the fixative is really toxic, especially if we have someone who may be pregnant or maybe wanting to get that way. So let your drawings off-gas. To turn the light on, you just hit this switch, and to turn the vent on, you just hit this switch. If you're going to come in and spray your project, be aware of what's on the other side. Because if you spray your project, you're going to overspray all over someone else's. They're not going to be real happy. In this instance, think about it as if it were your project. What would you want to see happen? Possibly maybe move yours to the side and maybe move theirs over, or you could even put it down here And now you wouldn't have overspray all over theirs. Remember to use gloves if you're going to be spraying in the spray booth. We have a lot of different chemicals in here. If you bring something new that you got online, remember that we need a SDS because it needs to go into our database. You need glasses to spray in the spray booth, even to spray drawings. The spray booth is relatively small. For that reason, we have a clean room and a mezzanine storage area where you can take your projects after you've sprayed them and they've had a chance to off-gas, and you can move them into one of those areas and allow them to sit without having to worry about someone overspraying all over them. Use those areas. That's what they're there for. But we don't allow sanding in there. I don't want to see people squatting in there and leaving their projects. There's no, okay, this is my corner. I'm going to use it for the whole semester to store all my stuff. That's what your lockers are for. The clean room and the mezzanine storage area are just for short amount of time. Day or two, come back, get your project, and do what you're going to do with it. The fire cabinets in the spray booth are full of different types of rattle cans, adhesives. So before you go buy something, make sure you check the cabinet because it might be already in there and you can use it. As the sign says, you must attend a safety orientation before using this lab. If you haven't received our training and have one of our badges, you can't be in here. That means I don't want to see your boyfriend, girlfriend in here helping you with your project. That goes for parents as well. If they haven't been properly trained in here by us, they can't be in here. It's a liability thing. It doesn't matter if they have lots of experience or not. Now, if your parents are in here for a visit, that's another thing. That's okay. You want to show them the lab? That's great. But they cannot stay and help you with your project. You have to be trained by us to use this equipment. I don't care if you use this lathe in high school. It doesn't matter to me. Until you've been trained and you've got the orange sticker on your badge to prove it, you can't use this. Now, along those lines, and thinking about the lathe, I see people in here wearing things that really they need to think about. Bracelets that are really long, sleeves that are hanging out there loose, clothing that's loose, anything that's hanging or could get caught up in the equipment, make sure you have your hair tied back. It's crucial. No open-toed shoes. If you or someone else drops something like this big bar clamp, you're going to wish you had steel toes on, let alone wearing flip-flops. No flip-flops. Don't plug something in if you're standing in water. Now, I know that sounds really silly, and why would you do that? But we see things like that all the time, and why would you do that? Because you're in a hurry, because you're distracted, because you're running on no sleep, because you think it's cool to stay up all night for 2 nights in a row. When you come in here, be alert, be awake, pay attention. If you see either of these on a piece of equipment, it means exactly what it says. Do not start, the equipment's locked out or it's tagged out. It basically means that there's something wrong with it. Sometimes I'm in the middle of fixing it. Sometimes someone just set it there because it made a funny noise. Regardless, if you see that on there, don't just disregard and plug it in. If you do that and you turn it on, you could cause major damage or injury. So if it's locked out and tagged out, leave it be. Make sure that you use the guards properly. At this height, if you flinch, you're going to have a bad day. And we see these blades break for apparently no reason at all sometimes. So leave the guard down. You need to get the material under it. But if you leave the guard down, your chances of not getting hurt increase. If you're going to work on a large piece, like on this drill press, don't be afraid to use a clamp. It'll help hold the piece down so that when you go to drill, it doesn't get away from you and turn this piece into a helicopter blade. Likewise, if you have a small piece, instead of just holding it with your hand, maybe you want to use a vise. Put it in the vise, tighten it down, and now you got a better grip. Never leave unattended equipment running. We're almost done. Hang in there. Now there should be at least 2 to 3 monitors in here when you come in here. And whether they're your friend or your peer, when they're in here and they're on the clock, they're the boss, okay? Now, don't be afraid to ask them for help, because that's the cool part about this job is we get to brainstorm and help you with your projects. The people that work here generally are like tech ed or industrial design, and they love this stuff. They've got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the fasteners or joinery or maybe a little way to tweak your project. So don't be afraid to ask them. If you're nervous about making a cut, we can get you through that too. Now, we're not here to do your project for you. Don't ask us to do your project for you. But we can show you again what you learned in training, even if it was a while ago. The cool part about Stout is that they force you to make your designs. Okay? Now this becomes invaluable because later on you're going to become, either an engineer or a designer, and you'll find that they don't always agree. What looks cool on paper might not be cool in reality or being able to make it. There's this little thing called physics and gravity, and sometimes the reality of those things can interfere with your plans. Man, you've got a lot of really great projects in store for you. So come down and use the lab and be safe. I always kind of coin it as it's kind of like a lightning storm in here. Before you realize it, zap, all of a sudden it hits you before you even realize it, okay? So come on down, use the lab, be safe, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. And we'll see you at your next project.